This is part 2 of a 2-part video. Click below this YouTube video to watch part 1 first. Okay, next thing we want to talk about is GDP, or gross domestic product per capita, and how that affects life. Thailand, for example, the US is it's over 60,000 now. These are 2017 numbers. That's the last year all three of these countries had numbers, so we can use those. Almost 60,000, for example, in the US. Thailand has 17,000 gross product, and the Philippines has 2,900. But my point is that when you show up in a country that has a lower per capita income, and your income is maybe even just average or even low in the US, you appear more special than you would in your home country, and that's one of the other reasons I think that Westerners are able to go over to Southeast Asia, and maybe their stock goes up in terms of finding a good relationship.
Thailand and Philippines, which one is cost of living is lower? I would say that it depends on how you shopping. If you shop a lot, then there's a problem for you to live in Thailand. Thailand, when you step out from your house, they have a 7-Eleven, they have a night market, they have a street food, they have a store to selling the clothes, selling the vegetable, everything. It's just like you need to put your money in your pocket and you walk out. That is slightly higher, but the rent is cheap, and the facility of the buildings or apartments is more suitable to the Western culture. They are more new. But that is only depends on the city that you live. Even in the province areas, it's all the same. It's not that easy to find a Western facility. But in Philippines, there is way more cheaper to live. The thing is, when you walk up, you need to be a motorcycle to go to the mall, to go to finding the food market to buy. But you also can shopping online as well. Just let you know, but the choices will be more easier to get in Thailand than the Philippines. So that's why the cost of living in the Philippines will be slightly cheaper.
Yeah, there's a temptation in Thailand because everything's available.
Yes.
And it's readily available. It's very close to you, and so the money jumps out of your pocket faster, I think.
Very fast when we in those famous areas like Pattaya, Jomtien, Koh Samui, Koh Phangan. It's like when you walk out, you know, you take a Sontel, you're like, I need to get a beer. It's like the temptation to ask you that you need to get a beer, and the beer is like 70 baht is cheap, but slowly it's about more and more. Yeah, so temptation is there. Yes. Okay, next thing we want to talk about is food differences. It's my specialty.
Yeah.
Food, I would say that I let you talk first.
It's your specialty. Okay, food. As a vegetarian, I find it easier in Thailand because all of the dishes they'll make, if you ask them, in almost any restaurant, they can make a vegetarian version of it. So it's quite easy for me. I also noticed that in Thailand, they have more of what I'll call Western comfort food in more places. So, you know, Burger King, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, KFC. And so if you're a new person moving overseas, you have that comfort to fall back on. I'm not saying it's not in the Philippines. It's there too, but it's not as often, and it's not all the choices in as many places. It's just not as common. That said, there are places in the Philippines you can go. Like when we were in Baguio, they had a bunch of vegetarian restaurants. When we were in Angeles City, they had 3 or 4 good ones. And so it's not unusual in the Philippines to run into, you know, a vegetarian place here and there. It's just not that, like, almost every place you can walk into will know what to do or even what it means. The Philippines is a little more meat-centric, and so it's a little harder for a vegetarian.
For my observation about food, I would say Thailand is more easy to get food. Like what I say, when you walk out from your house, there's food everywhere, literally everywhere, and it's 24 hours as well. Even in the 7-Eleven, so I would say it's more easy to get food in Thailand if you want to know that. But if you want to know that what choices about food is more I would say Thailand have more choices about food than the Philippines. In the province area, we're not talking about big city. 𝒂𝒃𝒃, they have all the food. And we have everything. You have a vegetarian food, you have a Korean, you have Italian, German, Irish, Japanese, whatever food. It's same. It's same like Bangkok. Vietnamese. But if you compare the province area, then the food choices will be lower.
Yeah, it's mainly just Filipino food, and a couple exceptions. They'll have pizza, they'll have chicken, they'll have a few of the Western choices.
It's more easy for, if you are the meat eater, it's easier for you to survive in the Philippines because they have meat so easy for you, but it's not easy for them because here it's a vegetarian. There is a difference and seafood. Both of these two countries have a good seafood. Beef, I would say that I'm not eating beef, but they all both have imported beef as well, but it's also only in a big city. So that is the food.
That's the food story.
Yeah. And we also always eating inside the house, so we cook more. So
yeah, and we cook more in the Philippines, mainly because of me. Like Chum could eat everywhere in the Philippines, but for me, it was easier to cook at home sometimes. So, which isn't bad because they have in the markets they have everything. So if you know how to cook, you're fine. I love to cook, so that wasn't a problem for me. Okay, next up is tourism. Now, what I notice about tourism is that Thailand, as you probably know, has been one of the most popularized tourist destinations in the world, and we're talking for decades. If someone's been to 5 or 10 countries, I can almost guarantee you one of them was probably Thailand, and they all rave about it. And for that reason, everyone keeps going back, and there's just millions and millions of people over many decades that have been going to Thailand. For that reason, it's had some effects on the culture there. It's a little bit crowded sometimes. And it has fewer, I'll call them untouched remoteness places that you'll find like in the Philippines. Although it's just absolutely gorgeous still in Thailand, but sometimes you feel like it's hard to get away from it all in Thailand because they have tours and trips to everywhere, and there's people going to all these places. And so there's a little bit of a tourist commoditization feel for it. And some parts of the Thailand, they've even had to shut down, just too much wear and tear. Some of the coral reefs have been affected by it, and so it can be a bit of a trouble. Whereas you can get away in the Philippines. There's more remote natural beauty places where you might be the only one around. You might be the only one on an island, and so that's just kind of the things I've noticed. Which tourism has done, and in Thailand, but not so much in the Philippines. And the other thing is there's some social effects. I think because so many Westerns have been going there, and Thailand in some respects has been known as sort of a sex trade place, that it's sort of commoditized relationships a little bit. And that's what I meant by the girl next door sort of thing that you can get still in the Philippines. That's still available in Thailand if you go into remote villages and things, but it's a little harder to find in the cities. And that's some of the effects of tourism. And so I think the effect of it is that I've noticed is that sometimes in the Philippines you just feel a little more special. There aren't 20 of you around, and so you feel a little bit different, a little more special, and people notice you more. And I know it's kind of an arrogant thing to say, it's kind of silly to even say it, but the Philippines has that feeling of untouchedness to it.
For me, that's yes, because in the Philippines, it's not all the places they have foreigners to go. Foreigners, they only pick those famous places. Example, El Nido, Coral, Boracay, Cebu. That's all. Not much around.
Siargao. 𝐕𝐂𝐍𝒂𝒃, that's about it.
That 𝒕𝒍�𝒃 is expat, retired expat.
True.
I'm talking about tourists.
Yeah.
The tourists is only go this place. They not even go to Manila, 𝒂𝒃𝒃, no, Veras. Or they only stop there for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But it's more fun that if you go to by yourself in those areas, there's less tourists. People is very friendly. They welcome you to the Philippines. That is a joy. The same thing in the Thailand is the same. But they are used to have a tourist. Everywhere you go, it's tourists.
Yeah.
I think I've never been to any place that have less tourists yet.
Yeah.
One thing that if you want comfort, then Thailand is easier because they're tourists. They know what kind of food you eat, like vegetarian like that. you say vegetarian, they know because they serve 1,000, 20,000 of people about the food. So it's just easy for you to get food.
What about, I noticed that in Thailand, it seems to be like a little more accepting culture. I'll just use a few examples. Like weed is legal now. LG, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, that's not really even, no one even talks about that anymore. It's so common in Thailand. So it's sort of a very open culture. And so, you know, whereas in the Philippines, it has a little more of a nostalgic feel to it, like a nostalgia for the past. But Thailand seems like it's embracing the future, and so that's one of the things we notice different.
While they are singing more of a more older song, which is bring back all your memory kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in Thailand, when they play the music or they have a bar to sing live, there is more future music.
Yeah.
So there is. You are in the moment, that kind
Yeah, you'll hear a lot of oldies music in the Philippines.
Yes.
A lot of the music that was playing during the Vietnam era, you'll hear in bars. So that's kind of fun, honestly. Next up, it's important to talk about natural disasters. So we spent a lot of time in the Philippines, and nothing bad happened to us. We've been through earthquakes and typhoons and some of that's blown out of proportion by the media, but it is something to think about. There are really bad typhoons, there are really bad earthquakes, and so you do need to think about that. But there are areas of Philippines that are safer than other areas. I have a report on that. I did a little research and reading about it. I wrote a report. I'll put a link below for you. But in Philippines, you have typhoons, volcanoes, earthquakes, and tidal waves. Whereas in Thailand, you don't really have any of that except for the tidal waves, and so you just need to worry about if you're near the water, if there's a tidal wave, and so you want to be up a little higher or back a little bit, or if you're going to be on the beach, you better be ready to run.
Okay, so for this one, yes, we've been to experience the earthquake on this year, 2020, on July, one of the bigger earthquake in the Philippines. That is scared of me. And I still have a phobia about that. When everything like moving on my house, on my bed, like, hey, am I in Thailand or Philippines right now? Okay, I'm in Thailand, there's no earthquake. So it's still scared about. But when we have stay in 𝐕𝐄𝐍𝐶 for 6 months, and we never experience anything at all. Typhoon, no, and volcano, no, earthquake, no, tidal wave, no. So it's a very peaceful, very, very peaceful place.
Next up, I would say, is infrastructure. That's important to people, and we did notice some differences. In the cities of both the Philippines and in Thailand, you're going to find that the roads are generally good. The infrastructure is generally good. The roads. It's when you get out of the cities, the roads aren't quite as good. But overall, we notice, I would say, the roads are better in Thailand than they are in the Philippines. Although both of them have generally safe roads, but you do have to watch for more potholes and that kind of thing when you're in the Philippines.
I would say that because Thailand is category tourist, so they do a lot of the roads and facility is to prepare for the tourists. That's why you will see that is.
They get a lot of tourists. Their per capita income is double for that reason, and tourism is it was, and I believe it still is, their #1 economic input. And so they reflect that in the tourism infrastructure, and that's why it's a softer landing for someone for a first country if you're moving overseas than maybe the Philippines are. But tourism isn't everything. The other thing we notice is that as far as hospitals infrastructure goes, the hospitals are distributed a little more, the best hospitals, I'll call it that. You have really good hospitals in the Philippines. But they're mainly in 3 or 4 of the larger cities where more people live and the funding is, and then not as much as you got into the provinces. But it's not unusual in Thailand to like when we're on Koh Samui, there's even a hospital there that has a decent rating.
It's like I don't know, the small island they have like 3, 4 hospital, even international hospital.
Yeah.
And also that Thailand is one of the country for medical tourists.
Yeah.
in Bangkok. So that is why you will see their hospital, the medical treatment is better.
Yeah. And they have, and the health insurance policies you can buy, and they have even local companies that they're offering health insurance, so the rates sometimes are a little lower. Sometimes in the Philippines you have to go to international health insurers, and this can be a little more. And then when you get sick, you have to go to one of the larger cities, Manila or Cebu, or one of the other ones with a great hospital, and
Baguio.
You're closer. Baguio, 𝐕𝐄𝐍𝐶 has a teaching medical school, but in the Thailand you're going to be closer to it, and so that's infrastructure is a factor for you to consider. Well, those are the main things. So in conclusion, I just thought I would, talk a little bit about personality types. I think I mentioned this already, but Thailand is somewhere, if it's your first time going over to live overseas, it's going to be a softer landing. But once you get if I'll call them your travel legs, or your expat, or your foreigner living legs under you, then in some regards you'll be more attracted, or at least as attracted to places like the Philippines, once you realize the world isn't going to end when you leave your home country. And so some of the other things about the Philippines that we found attractive, the remoteness, how it's not so, had so many decades of tourism, so it feels a little open and natural, and some of those other things might begin to attract you. And so when you go to a country that's not as developed for tourists, it can be a little bit unnerving to you because you don't know how things work. You can't quite figure stuff out. So I would say personality types, if you're more of a laid back, easygoing, not so easy to upset, you're going to feel a little more comfortable in the Philippines. Whereas if you're more detail oriented and discriminating about your environment and everything around you having to work or be like home, that's probably Philippines or the Thailand's going to be a better fit for you. If you're more of a barefoot barbecue and a beer kind of person, just chatting with your friends from your hometown, the Philippines are going to feel comfortable for you. But if you're interested in more exotic foods and cooking channels and finding about what ingredients are and what what is so unusual about an exotic culture like Thailand, you're probably going to feel more comfortable in a place like Thailand. Now, if you're more of a walk in a park in the evening kind of guy and you chat it up with people around you, that's the kind of place you're going to feel comfortable in the Philippines, because there's a lot of English speakers around you and people are very talkative. They like to find out about Westerners, where they're from. But if you're more of trying to figure out what makes this a crazy exotic place tick, and you like learning about new cultures, and you're not uncomfortable being around people that think differently than you, maybe Thailand in some respects. So those are just kind of personality types. But both types, once you get your foreigner legs under you, I think you're going to enjoy both countries, and we certainly did. And so,
well, this information for you is just a reference for you to know about these two countries.
Yeah.
If you want to retire on these two countries, you need to put your foot and then try in different city and find out whether you like the city or the country before you start to buying your house or put a 1 year lease for your apartments.
Yeah, put your feet on the ground. I think that's a great way to put it, and find out which one's right for you. When you're in the U.S. and you want to go somewhere, you're talking $500,000 for an airfare. But when you're in the Philippines and you watch the fares, it may only cost you $100 to go to Thailand. Or if you're in Thailand, it may only cost $100 to go to the Philippines. And so we're not talking about a lot of money, and it's not a lot of money to live in these places and to explore them. And these are two great spots, and so you should put your feet on the ground. If you've enjoyed this video,
please don't forget to like, comment, and
subscribe,
and ring the bell,
so you'll know about our future videos.
Or you want to know which beach that you can find a naked woman over there.
Yeah, go to 𝐂𝐿's channel. She's going to talk about naked women.
Bye bye. See you next time.
Bye bye.